obviously is college students, black college students, right? So we all are trying to succeed. So the notion is, in terms of this comparison with higher ed, with graduate school, I'm a Morehouse grad, but also went to the University of Michigan for graduate school. So coming out of Morehouse in social psychology, which is the #1 social psychology program in the world. And so for me coming out from undergrad, the combination worked for me. Going to undergrad at a black school, going to a white school, and excelling there. What the data suggests, and what I saw anecdotally at Michigan, let me back up. One thing we can't do is group all black schools together and all white schools together. There's diversity amongst them all. So when you're talking about Morehouse and Spelman and Clark, that doesn't represent all black schools. Same thing with Emory and even the Ivies, right? So the Ivies, and I study black males, even black people have a 92 to 95% graduation rate for black students, right? And some of the elite small white schools as well. But when you're looking at other schools like your Georgia States and your Kennesaw States and the vast majority of other white schools, that's not the case. So we gotta be careful, just like we may not group white schools together, we can't group black schools together either. There's not one HBCU experience. So to your point though, on average, he is correct. On average, national studies show that black students who attend HBCUs are more desirous to go and apply more and are actually admitted to, at a higher ratio than black students who go to white schools. It's not necessarily because of the preparation or the GPA. Some of it does have to do with black students coming out of white schools tend, relatively speaking, not all black people at white schools, relatively speaking, want to take some time or a break after a white undergraduate graduate experience and compared to black students at black schools. Again, not generalizing, relatively speaking, that's what the data show pretty consistently, okay? So also in terms of performance in graduate school and adjustment, it may seem strange. Socially, there's some adjustment that black students from black colleges have to make to white graduate programs. But what professors tell you consistently at predominantly white research-one universities is that black students from black colleges, slightly more, not every black student from every black college, but relatively speaking, their drive and ambition and intangibles to succeed in a white environment actually exceeds that of black students coming out of white schools. That actually ironically speaks to the rites of passage that you mentioned. What oftentimes black schools do is that by having those sort of inefficiencies, it does teach a resourcefulness, right? An ability to adjust very quickly in the moment to things that aren't as present. I'm not saying they're not present at all, as present at some predominantly white schools. And so that's what's picked up on. I was an advisor in the psychology department at the University of Michigan for 3 years to psychology majors. Whenever a black student came in, I closed the door, said, so what's up? I mean, how you doing for real? And then, we talked. But one of the main things that came up, maybe not at Emory, right? But at Michigan was, I'm just trying to get out. It was a feeling of just trying to sort of get out. Slightly more so than black students at black schools. And the reasons that they wanted to get out wasn't because they couldn't handle the work. Some of it was outside of class stressors, okay? And so when I asked them, what about graduate school? Some of them, not all of them, but more so than at black schools, would say, I can't imagine going through another 5 or 6 years of this. So these are quotes. Again, this is anecdotal, but I think the data sort of supports this. This is not everyone. We're talking about slight differences. For those who take stats, we know about statistically significant differences, but that can be on a 7-point scale, 3.5 to 3.8, right? Not huge differences. My sociology people, all right. So we're talking about numbers. So what we have to do is understand diversity within black schools, diversity in white schools. But I think the bigger point was made earlier. It's about fit. A black school is not for everybody. A white school is not for everybody. Who are you as an individual and what's the best fit for you? That data we do not have yet. We don't have data that profile students and look at the identical profiles going to white school and a black school and see how much they develop or how they compare. So that's the data that's missing. So I can't completely answer everything, and I know it's a long answer to your question. All right, but I just wanted to provide context. Y'all are in school. What's the graduation rate nationally for black females? College graduation rate. What? 47%. What's the national graduation rate for black males out of college? 35%. So none of us gender-wise, black people, we're not even graduating at 50%. So there's some other bigger issues that are going on as well that I think we need to explore. Is that okay?